All right, so I am going to share my screen to lead our conversation here. Can everybody see this Sundance Film Festival thing?
Yeah, I see it.
Cool. And I'm going to make sure I can see all y'all. And so welcome everybody to Atlanta Film Society's Eat, Drink, and Be Indie for January 2021. My name is Christopher Escobar. I'm the executive director of the Atlanta Film Society and will be your host this evening. I'm going to walk you through, for those of you watching live, you have the advantage of being able to ask questions in real time. Anyone who's watching the recording, you can ask, but I just won't ever see that question. So I'm going to walk us through a little bit of what to expect. We won't go into a ton of detail on everything, but I'm hoping we will go into some detail on some things and give you a working sense. So here's a little bit about what to expect. So obviously Sundance is going to be quite different this year, but we're really excited that we're going to be partnering with the folks at the Sundance Institute. This is something we've never done before at the Film Society, partnering with Sundance. Some of us have been lucky enough to go. Maybe some of you who are attending have been able to go. So we've enjoyed it and experienced it largely as everyone else, which is as fans. And this year it's going to be something that's kind of interesting, different, collaborative. So what we're going to do is kind of go a little bit of the overview of how it's going to work, of what to expect from a film standpoint, as well as a beyond film standpoint, and then some of the other folks that are at the table with us. So we'll kind of touch on that a little bit. This is happening sort of two-part. It's happening nationwide, particularly online, and there's two sides to that. There's the Sundance side, and then there's everyone, all the Sundance partners, including the Atlanta Film Society and the Plaza Theater, our side of it. And then there's what's happening, just here in person in Atlanta. So we'll touch on that a little bit too. Y'all hearing me okay? I just heard some weird stuff, but everyone's muted, so I don't know where that would come from other than me. So, okay. All right, so, a lot of what Sundance does overall, really not only looks to push and transform the artists themselves through the films that they're getting to show, but trying to push society and trying to push our culture and our community to kind of broaden their mindset. There's gonna be a lot of things that are going to be different for us in terms of how we present screenings this year, and in part that's really because of the support and the pushing from behind with Sundance to do that. So that's in terms of accessibility, in terms of conversations. So it's something that we're excited to have, but it's also means that when you're trying new things, there's kind of an interesting test that comes on with that. So one of the things that's different from even how we did the Atlanta Film Festival, for those of you who attended this past year, and from how a lot of festivals are doing, is they're trying to make this synchronous between what's happening in person, what's happening online, and across the country, across time zones, which is kind of interesting and different. So the idea here for them is about creating even while we're disconnected, creating a sense of gathering. So we'll touch a little bit more about that. So by and large, the festival overall is transformed. We are hosting most of these dates. So January 28th to February 3rd is going to be the total, and then what's happening here in Atlanta and the programming we do is January 28th to February 2nd, with the stuff on the 3rd being largely like awards presentation and some other things like that. So overall, these are all the Sundance categories, and what we're going to be presenting in Atlanta will speak to some of them, particularly these areas that you see highlighted here. And so we're going to touch on those in some detail. But the cool thing is that overall, the Atlanta Film Society and the Plaza Theater together are the official partners and the host of Sundance here in Atlanta. And we're going to have something that only Atlanta is doing, which is really including some of the other groups and folks who do great work in kind of specific focused areas as part of it. So let's kind of dive into some of the films to expect. Okay, first, here's a little bit of how it's going to work. The film programming, first of all, will happen on 2 sites on 3 screens. We've got the indoor screen at the Plaza, which you can see this image down here in the bottom that shows kind of the pod seating. And And then we've got 2 drive-in screens. And so we're talking about 2 locations, but 3 screens. And that'll be important as you look through the schedule of, is this happening plaza indoor? Is this a plaza drive-in? Or is this a drive-in at dad's garage? The key thing here is safety is a huge, huge, huge factor. I mean, for us, we're not just looking for our guest safety, we're looking for our staff safety. So everything from the drive-ins to even how it happens indoor, and even the scale. I mean, there are much bigger sites, but it's really a lot more manageable and keeps it a lot safer to have these much smaller, drive-in sites and these smaller indoor sites. So that's a plus on the safety side. It also means that there's not that many tickets available. And so you have to be able to, move on them quickly because they'll fill up. The thing you may not realize is even all the films playing at Sundance also play online, but those can also sell out. Those are limited to a certain number of seats. Most of them, are under 5,000. Some of them are 2,000 or even 1,000. So just because it's online doesn't mean like, oh, I'll be able to catch it online. Like, no, that can sell out too. So, I encourage you, as you're looking at your schedule between what's playing, online for Sundance versus what we're doing, here in person, try and prioritize the stuff that's in person, but, mix it up and add some things that are happening in online as well. So as I mentioned, we've got kind of 3 options with the safe indoor pod seating. The way those pod seats works is they seat up to 4 people. And those are $20 a person. If you're one person, if you're 4 people, you'll pay a per person price, but that whole pod is for you. So Krupa might come and just get a ticket for herself. She gets that whole pod. It's just $20. It doesn't mean she can just bring other people. No, you got to pay per person. But that means that you're never kind of compromising safety. So, you're always, at least 7 feet, apart from everyone else. And the kind of unique thing about how we do it at the plaza is, it's all contact-free ticketing. It's masks and temperature checks when you come inside. But it's also, there's no concession stand or bar open for people to walk around and stand in line. If you want that stuff, just like at the drive-in, you order from your seat. Those orders get brought to folks. So really, the safety is a huge factor. That's just the stuff you see. You don't see the hospital grade ionization. You don't see the UV lights that get used in between shows. I mean, we take it almost probably too far. The drive-ins, again, a cool thing about those are that they're small. So it's not, a bunch of traffic coming in, a bunch of traffic coming out. It's not, it's always kind of an intimate drive-in. And then there's what's happening in home. The films in home, that'll be just through Sundance. And so you go to the Sundance website to get that ticketing and get that through them. Many of those, like I said, some of them are already sold out. Some of those will sell out. And then the Beyond Film programming, which we'll talk about in some detail, is a combination of what Sundance programs and they have online and what we program and we have online. The cool thing is both of which are totally free. That's a unique thing for Sundance. And part of how they've funded this, kind of helps make that possible. All right, so let's talk about some of the film programming. And these are going to be presented in order. I'm not going to read these word for word, but I want to touch on some of the highlights with some of them. Coda is going to be a unique one because of the main character is a child of deaf adults, as it's saying here. We're going to really try and up the ante from an accessibility standpoint, and we're going to have those closed caption or those open captions on screen to really make sure that like everyone who attends the screen can have an experience and it's not leaving anybody out. And that's something that can be kind of different because we're not used to going to the movies and seeing captions on screen unless it's a film in a foreign language and it's playing here in the States. But we're really trying to push the envelope and really trying to make sure everyone's included and has a chance to enjoy themselves. So we're excited to present that film and have it here. RITA Moreno, this is a documentary feature about the legendary actress, who's been literally over 70 years of a career. She's the first Hispanic EGOT, which is really kind of cool. Personally, for me as a Hispanic person, it makes me feel good. So this is actually the first feature-length documentary about the legend, and we're excited to be doing this in partnership with Women in Film and Television Atlanta. For many of these, some of which we already know we're going to have some Q&As, and some of which would be in person, some of which would be strictly online, and some of it's still in the works and we don't know because there's a lot of moving parts across all the cities doing this. But we're expecting we may be able to have some folks join us online for the RITA Moreno doc. CryPTOZOO is a really interesting one, feature-length animated film. It was made by literally like 5 people, made a whole feature-length animated film. But this one's just exciting. So not only does you got, you know, great actors like Belle and Michael Cera, you know, folks, big names in this very trippy, almost like Frida Kahlo looking animated film. But we're lucky enough, we're actually expecting to have the filmmakers here in attendance with us. So so that's something we're excited about. By and large, what we're looking at when we have talent in attendance is that for the drive-ins, that'll be strictly like an introduction and kind of welcoming remarks, that sort of thing. The drive-in format isn't as conducive to doing Q&As afterwards. People in their cars and some folks might be leaving. That can be kind of distracting. So at the drive-ins, we won't have anything afterwards. That'll be just beforehand. But when we have them, like with the folks at CryPTOZOO, we would do a Q&A immediately following the screening indoors. But you won't feel left out, because those of you who might be watching from home, either through, you know, Sundance online, or might be watching at the drive-ins, we're going to be doing the Q&As with folks regardless of if the film plays and regardless if we have the people in person. We'll do a Q&A that will be posted online the next day. And so there'll still be an opportunity to be able to hear a little bit more, some of which will be live and you can interact with, and some of which will be pre-recorded, but still a chance to be able to kind of hear a little bit more from the folks connected to the film. Passings of film, I mean, anything that Tessa Thompson's in, I'm game. And this is one that we're excited to have. This one right now is also probably the most popular film right now. So just as a little pro tip and heads up in terms of what's selling really well. This one's written and directed by Rebecca Hall. This is her feature-length debut. A lot of you folks might know Rebecca Hall from the Iron Man film. I think it was Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, I'm forgetting which one. But she was kind of a main kind of supporting character in that. She was in Vicky Cristina Barcelona. She's been in a bunch of stuff. This is her feature-length debut, which is exciting to be able to have and see an artist kind of branch out in that way. And she's a mixed descent, and this is kind of being able to talk about her experience about seeing, about these characters who, and especially back in the late 20s, early 30s, who, pass for white, but, they're African American. So we're excited to have this film. And we're doing this in partnership with the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, particularly through their Black Initiative, which they'll be able to talk about more about that. All right, Superior. This is a film where if you miss the days of really stylized, edgy indie films, where the art direction, the music, supervision, like all that's like on point, this is the film for you. So we're excited to have this. I'm trying to make sure I don't spend all the time here talking nuts and bolts. My name is PAULI Murray, documentary feature. This is by the same filmmakers who did RBG, about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, about the LGBTQ trailblazer who really helped lay the groundwork for a lot of what RBG did following that. We're doing this one in partnership with Out on Film, and we are expecting one of the folks in this film to actually be in attendance with us. So we're excited to have that. All Light Everywhere. Anyone who saw a Rat film as part of the Atlanta Film Festival, I think that was 3 years ago. This is the film director Theo Anthony's follow-up to that. Really kind of poetic and kind of crazy visualizations. And this one's on kind of surveillance and how it's influencing our life and that kind of stuff. So this is a really kind of out there film, and so we're excited to be doing it in partnership with an out there partner, being Videodrome. Everybody know Videodrome? I'm about half the nod. So if you don't know, you got to look them up. They're right next to the plaza, and so the cool thing is if you come to any of the screenings in person for this, you'll be right down the street for them. The quick 20-second on Videodrome is they're the last video rental store in Atlanta, and what's really cool is not only do they have a bunch of titles available, but like you have people who really can kind of shepherd you through a ton of crazy different films. So if you imagine like going into like a wine shop or something like that, or some cigar shop, some place where like okay, I don't really know what I need to know. You tell me what I need to know. These people can shepherd you. It's awesome. So we're excited to partner with them. We're also partnering with them for The Blazing World. This is one of the few kind of genre films And this one's, you know, supposed to be really intense. We have some of the talent from the Blazing World attending, so we're excited about that. So we're expecting to be able to do talk back with them both in person and online as well. All right, AILEY, for those of you who know Alvin Ailey, the dance company, you know, world famous, performs at the Fox typically every year, and even has a breakout thing called AILEY 2. Oops, sorry, at the Rialto. You know, really, really transcendent and innovative dance company. And so this is the documentary feature about the visionary artist Alvin Ailey, who really kind of helped push the envelope and the definition on the dance world, and really bringing artists of color to the dance world in a way that really had not been seen widely. And so excited to have this, and we're doing this in partnership with the Bronze Lens Film Festival. Then Judas and the Black Messiah. This film was slated to be released in 2020. And obviously with the pandemic, it got delayed. And so it created a nice opportunity where we're lucky enough to have it before it's February. I think it's getting released later on in February. And so I'll kind of give you the inside tip. There's a chance we might have some folks related to this film doing some stuff with us in person, if nothing else, online. So we're excited about that. And so this one we're doing in partnership with the Morehouse Human Rights Film Festival, and will be both drive-in and indoor. Last couple ones here. Coming Home in the Dark. This is another thriller out of New Zealand, and also partnering with Videodrome on this. I also thought it was kind of, you know, this is a later night film because it's part of their midnight block, which usually doesn't start until midnight. We're starting it at 10:15 because, you know, it's a Monday, and, you know, we're gonna get to bed eventually. So, but I think this will be kind of an interesting, kind of scary film to watch, especially if you're in the drive-in. You know, watching a thriller like this at night. I think it might just up the ante there a little bit on the thrill level. And then last but not least, Try Harder. This is a documentary feature about this incredible high school where the students are competing for admission to the college of their dreams. We're actually expecting to have one of the main folks from this documentary in attendance as well. And this one seems like it's really going to be a crowd pleaser. So we're excited about that. All right. So that's kind of a crash course in some of those films. Now, I'll be honest. You know, we don't, as viewers, normally see, you know, this isn't normally the way we're watching films and learning about films and going, cool, this is what I want to watch. Normally we're, you know, watching trailers, we're getting to read reviews and all that kind of stuff. But with Sundance, all this stuff is incredibly fresh. A lot of these films aren't even picked up for distribution yet, don't even have a trailer cut yet. Like, so this is a very different way where you really have to kind of approach these with an open mind and know that, look, all this is going to be, you know, pretty strong and really interesting and thought provocative. And so it is really kind of worth, sometimes the best films I've ever seen at Sundance, I walk in pretty blind, and it has an incredible experience. Now, I want to touch a little bit though on the beyond film programming side. So I mentioned, you know, Sundance is doing some of this. These are panels or master classes or conversations or roundtables or whatever. And then we're doing some of that programming locally. So a little bit about how those will work. They're going to kind of largely fit into two buckets. They'll either be connected to a title. So when we have access to that director, that screenwriter, that actor, the producer, or one of the subjects from one of the films, we're going to have a conversation with them. And if we're lucky enough to have them in person, we're going to do that, you know, a little brief one in person inside the plaza. But then we're also going to do an expanded one that'll go online. Some of those will be live, where, you know, it'll be a sort of a Zoom-like feature. If you're watching through our portal, you can do, you know, participate through the chat, but a lot of it will be pre-recorded. We found that, you know, while, you know, sometimes you lose a little bit of that interactivity, it does also make sure that the show goes on and, you know, Zoom doesn't crash or something crazy. So, you know, so for that reason, you know, we have a lot more stuff that will be pre-recorded. But, you know, as a way to still be able to have some interactivity, even for some stuff that's pre-recorded, everything will end up being on the schedule that will keep getting updated. And then all the updates, as we have some stuff that's still in the works, will be done by this Friday. And even stuff that's pre-recorded will have a broadcast time. And the reason for that is, first of all, kind of helps you kind of organize your week a little bit. But we're going to have folks participate in some of those broadcasts to be able to do live chat during the broadcast. So even if those folks even if what you're watching is pre-recorded, you might still be able to interact with those folks via the live chat function during that broadcast time. So that's kind of a nice little blend of kind of both on how we present it. I've been blazing through a lot of this actually. So if anyone has any questions, you're free to hop off mute and ask if what you're curious about is what we're talking about. I should have said that earlier if I was doing a good job. But all right. So the second way that we're going to have Beyond Film is through what I call Atlanta themes. And the interesting opportunity with this is these conversations that we can have are to the entire worldwide audience, particularly that Sundance helps direct the attention. So our thinking was, so if we're going to have the attention of, potentially folks all over the country, all over the world, we want to make sure that Atlanta is participating in a way where, what we bring to the conversation really has merit, has weight, and Atlanta, the South and Atlanta's got something to say. And so we wanted to make sure we focused on kind of two areas where it's really kind of our thing. And so largely we're going to have conversations around the themes of inclusion and innovation. And I'm going to focus on kind of three of those examples that we're going to have, but we're going to have a combination of stuff. And so, but the interesting thing is this is going to be visible to the entire Sundance audience worldwide. The cool thing is these are going to be free and online. And these are going to be a combo of having a broadcast time that's going to have some interactivity, will make it a little bit easier to plan your schedule, but then there'll be some on-demand. There'll be an on-demand window to follow. And so if you didn't catch it at that time, you might still be able to catch it afterwards. So we're going to feature a combination under this banner of these Atlanta themes, feature a combination of what we're calling ATLFF rewinds. So some really kind of cool stuff that was part of the creative conference during the Atlanta Film Festival this year. If you didn't get a chance now in English, if you didn't get a chance to catch it, this will be another chance to see some of that, which has not been available since then. And then we're going to have some brand new stuff that's happening just for Sundance. So I'm going to focus on three kind of select things that will be happening just for Sundance. All said and told, we're going to have probably about 6 or 7 new ones that are under this theme. And then we're going to have, I think we're looking at 8 or 9 ATLFF rewinds. So, and that's all in addition to the ones happening connected to the titles. So the first one I want to talk about is this animation panel. This one's being organized by the Center for Media Industries Institute out of Georgia State University. And they're going to look at how animation has really has and will continue to open up really kind of huge means of inclusion. So it's going to be moderated by Brennan Dicker, who's the executive director of CMII. We're going to be joined by Floyd Norman, who's a longtime, this guy's got his own Wikipedia, you can check it out, longtime legendary animator, producer. He's been on different sides of animation as well, a lot of Disney and Pixar titles. Then Brian McKissick, who's a storyboard artist. One of the kind of recent titles is the new Tom and Jerry film that's coming out next month. And then we're going to have Ginger Tantavitong, who's an animator and the executive director of ASIFA South, which is the International Animation Association's South chapter. Then John Martin, who's an artist in residence at the CMII, and he does a lot of work in volumetric capture, and which is kind of fascinating stuff he's done, and it's tied into another thing we're going to do. And sorry, that was James Martin. And then John Martin works for Reallusion. So it'll be a great panel. We're going to talk about stuff that's happening, stuff that's developing. All right, this next panel I'm excited to talk about is with Naomi McDougall-Jones, and she's going to have some other folks join her, but she's going to really kind of take through some of the innovations that came out of adapting through COVID, and really how that's going to change the game going forward in terms of distribution and inclusion, how it's going to change particularly when it means for distribution, what it means for financing, and what opportunities it's going to open up. If you're not familiar with Naomi McDougall-Jones, she did a phenomenal TED Talk. Look her up. It has millions of views about what it's like for women in the film industry. She's freaking brilliant. She not only is able to, take these kind of complicated concepts, but really boil it down for anyone can understand, so even me. And so I was like, I get it now. So she's fantastic, and she's going to take us through some interesting stuff that folks in her circles. For instance, she was an executive producer on one of the films. Man, I got Butterfinger here. One of the films that's being included in Sundance, Cusp. She's an executive producer on that film. And while it's not one that we're playing here in Atlanta, it's one you can watch online. And so we're excited to have her. We are able to connect with her because Atlanta is her new home. So all the conversations that we're kind of putting new ones together, these are folks who have strong ties to Atlanta. Then the last one I'll touch on for some of the Beyond Film content is kind of a show and tell with Trioscope Studios. And these folks, they've had a bunch of headlines recently in Variety and Deadline about the work that they did to create the show The Liberator, which is on Netflix. And this is using their new approach and technology, which builds on some of the stuff that we've seen with things like Scanner Darkly or some of these other titles where it's recording live performance in a way, but then overlays this animation style to create this world that really wouldn't be feasible or possible without this approach. So it's somewhere between live action and animation in a really interesting, intriguing way. And it's not all just in studio. I mean, they're doing on location shooting and stuff like that. So it's really fascinating and really different. A lot of new attention for this. There's some really exciting projects they have ahead. So what they're going to do is they're going to kind of open up the hood a little bit for us on The Liberator, on how they were able to create it and do it. And then also the kind of projects that are in the works because of this technology. All right. So that's a little kind of sense of some of the films, a little sense of some of the Beyond Film conversations. I want to kind of walk you through from a standpoint of time of how this is going to work. So we're starting on Thursday, ending on Tuesday. The idea largely is we're not trying to spread the attention too much. We're largely trying to do just a few things at a time. And so on Thursday evening, we're going to have, and so I should also say there's going to be additions to this on the Beyond Film side. So on Thursday evening, we're just going to have Coda. That's the only thing playing that night. You'll notice that on my schedule here, a lot of the text is in black, some of it's gray. And the idea is because each film has to kind of play simultaneously nationwide, so that means we can't do screenings later on. We wanted to be able to have an ability to expand. And so this is kind of a little behind the scenes insight info here, because anyone who's just looking on our schedule on our website's not going to know this. So just y'all and the folks watching this would know this, which is some of these films have just 2 screenings that are announced and planned right now online, but some of them, as they fill up, might expand with a third. So Thursday is Coda, Friday is RITA Moreno, and then CRYPTOZOO to follow it. But on Saturday, and you'll see this similarly later in the festival, we have the Beyond Film stuff scheduled during the mornings and afternoons. We'll probably add some stuff on Fridays and some other days, but this is a little sense of like when that stuff's happening, screenings are, and then when screenings are, we're not doing the Beyond Film stuff. Does that make sense? So Saturday we have Passing. That's already been high enough demand where it already has its 3rd screening activated, and so we're expecting all that to sell out. And then following that on Saturday we've got Superior. Page 2 is Saturday, Monday, Tuesday. So again, we're looking at Beyond Film programming in the mornings and afternoons, and then Sunday evening we've got My Name is Pauli Murray on 2 of the screens. All Light Everywhere is just on 1 of the screens. So that's the only screening that film will have. So when that one fills up, there's no more other chances. It also means that when My Name is Pauli Murray fills up, that's also done. So, keep that in mind. Then later on late Saturday night, we've got Blazing World that can expand. Monday is a combo of AILEY in the 7 o'clock hour, and then Judas and the Black Messiah in the 9 o'clock hour, and Coming Home in the Dark just after that at 10. And then lastly, on Tuesday, we've got Try Harder. And actually, I think only maybe 2 screens for Try Harder are activated, but it might be all 3. I could be wrong. All right, so that's kind of the recap on Sundance. Now, I imagine some of y'all might have questions. I'd be glad to kind of go back through some of this stuff. We're going to be adding also trailers. We're going to be adding more info. There's going to be more beyond film conversations than even what I touched on today. And actually, this Friday at Krupa, remind me what time is that? 3 o'clock?
Yeah, it's going to be from 3 to 4.
3 to 4. We have an announcement event. It'll be a Zoom kind of like this. We're not going to spend a ton of time on some of the stuff that we talked about in detail. So it'll largely be focusing on stuff we haven't talked about. We'll share some of the trailers. We'll have some more info and details on some of the Q&As and things like that that'll happen. But any questions?
Where do I go to get tickets?
Oh, that's a great question. I should have had that in here. You go to atlantafilmsociety.org. You can check out the schedule and get tickets for everything that's available for sale. If you're not already an Atlanta Film Society member, which I encourage you to do that, you get a discount. I think it's 20% discount, if I'm not mistaken, across tickets. So it's definitely worth it. Because you can do the annual, and I mean, even in just tickets of stuff of what you buy for Sundance alone, you could literally save more than what it costs to be a member alone in Sundance. So other questions? Cool. Okay, great. So either I covered everything and you guys have nothing to ask, or I bored you out of your mind. In either case, I've maybe done my job one way or the other. Awesome. Well,
where can I find the Zoom link for tomorrow's meeting?
For the Friday one?
So I will also drop that in the chat for you guys. It's going to be Friday from 3 to 4.
Nice. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
I'm listening all the way from Los Angeles.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thanks.
I had a chance to our pleasure to meeting you guys, everybody, but I had a pleasure actually to travel to Atlanta for the very first time in my life, about a few weeks ago. And I was supposed to stay for a week, but I ended up extending my stay. So I stayed for 2 weeks, but it was so worth it. I'm in love with Atlanta. I am possibly trying to relocate pretty soon. So God bless. Blessings though, but I love Atlanta.
Thank you for that. I can certainly sympathize. I was visiting in the summer of '99 and we moved here after that. I was like, no, we're not going back. So yeah, I can certainly sympathize with that. And I'm sorry, I don't know if you were aware, but yeah, there were actually some in-person screenings planned for the LA area that the Sundance folks were going to be put on, but they ended up kind of getting a little too nervous about kind of the situation out there. And so understandably they had a pretty massive thing planned of like several hundred cars, and that would concern me a little bit. But yeah, if you're joining remotely all the way from Cali, glad to have you. And then I got to also give a shout out and thanks to Krupa from our community relations team. I think Amazon possibly as well. I want to thank them. Oh, and Daniel from our PR team. It looks like he's on here as well. There's a lot still in the works. Y'all actually are you're the first to hear some of these details, particularly on some of the Beyond Film stuff, because some of the stuff is not yet announced. So I wanted to give you kind of a little inside scoop. But any other questions just on how some of this stuff will work, or particularly if you've never been to the drive-ins or anything like that? Yeah, Samuel.
So like when we're indoors, we're in like our own little bubble, and like if we have people with us, we're all in the same
boat. Like, yeah. So basically, it's got to be on the same purchase, because all the pods are reserved. So if you're like, I want to bring another person or 2 more people or 3 more people, the pods max out at 4. Then make sure you buy that all at the same time in one purchase, and that way you can have the same pod.
So if I order a ticket for myself, but then later decide I want to bring people, I can't do that. I can't bring.
We can't actually. It's not something as easy where you just go on and do it yourself. We have to help you with that, because the way the system, we're having to kind of jump through a lot of hoops of it being reserved seating, and it does a little bit of magic where if you buy one seat, it knocks out all the rest of them. And so that's something we'll have to just help you with. But we can certainly make that accommodation. That's not a problem. So be sure that you can shoot us an email, and we can help you out with that for sure.
Okay. Cool.
Bless you, Helen. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So for the drive-in, is it playing on like a speaker that's like outside, or you have to tune into a radio?
Great question. Yeah. So actually, it uses the same way. If you've never been to the Starlight Drive-In, which if you never have, I definitely recommend it. It's a unique experience because that's the only like historic drive-in that we have left in Atlanta. It's all through a hyper local radio station, and so you're listening it through your radio system in your vehicle. And the neat thing you may not realize if you've never watched a movie from your car is you're driving around with like a 5.1 system all the time. And it actually sounds amazing. And so the kind of cool thing is if you're walking by, you would never even hear or know that there's a drive-in movie happening because it's just a bunch of cars parked in a parking lot. Now you might see the giant screen, but yeah, so that's the thing that allows us to be in these really residential neighborhoods, but not disturbing anybody. But yeah, you watch it. You can leave your car on if you'd like, or you can just run the radio. But either's fine. And so there's a radio frequency. We have it on screen for where you tune into, and it sounds incredible. The other kind of little things, kind of different drive-in things. So we when you come in, we have folks turn their running lights off. But if you can't do that or don't know how to do that, we'll cover them for you, all that kind of stuff. We really kind of take care of it. And the idea is like once everyone's settled in and settled down watching the movie, the lights are down, people's headlights and stuff are off, and you can really focus on a movie like you would in a theater. It's very kind of transformative. The cool thing about the drive-in is you can bring your own food. You can't do that inside the Plaza Theater. But if you want to, get some great, get a great carry-out dinner or whatever, you can bring it with you. There's also concessions available, and you make that order from your car on your mobile device, and it gets brought right to your car. There's capture the information to do that. So it really kind of made it super, chill, super, convenient. And it's a terrific experience. So yeah, great question. There's generations of people who've never been to a drive-in, so this is kind of a whole new.
Yeah, I haven't. Wait, so is there like an app that I would need to download for the concessions, or?
Nope, that's just there's a QR code that you just scan that, it brings you right to the web page, and then you can browse the menu, and yeah, so there's nothing you really got to do beforehand to be ready and to watch. It would be
QR
cool.
code is like on your ticket or something as you come in?
It's on two places. We have it both on screen in the kind of the loop, and then when you come in, they actually assign you a parking space based on the size of your vehicle and what spaces are available, and it's on that tag that they put on your windshield, and, cool. And so you can scan that QR code. It also tells you what your space number is, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm in PL7, and then when you place your order, they know to bring your order to PL7. The stuff they have available at the Dad's Garage is regular kind of like popcorn, candy, soda, that kind of stuff. But the stuff at the Plaza is that plus the menu from Righteous Room, which is kind of cool. So you can order like a burger from them or whatever, that kind of stuff, and they'll cook it right in the kitchen, and we're all kind of connected to set that up. A little pro tip, which I also don't normally say this publicly, but if you're at Dad's Garage, it's a little easier to do this, and you order like Postmates or Uber Eats or whatever, just tell them what space number you're in, and then the staff there will help receive that order for you and bring it to you as well. So it really is kind of a very cool and very different way to kind of go out to the movies and watch that stuff. So anyway, great question. Other questions, thoughts, anything y'all are curious about?
I'm kind of sad because I wish I was already there back in Atlanta, but I'm happy to view this online.
Yeah. Well, you gotta get it however you can get it. So,
Yeah. True.
but I will say, looking ahead, in the event you'll be able to join us for then, the Atlanta Film Festival. Go ahead and mark your calendars for that, which is April 22nd to May 2nd. We'll largely use this model. It's going to be safe in theater. It'll be safe outdoor, drive-in, and then it'll also be in home. The difference is we'll bring all the content. There won't be kind of these different ways depending on what it is. The conference will be the creative conference, which has great content, will be strictly in home. And then the one thing that we're working on, because we might find a way to do this, is we might have a non-drive-in outdoor, something like in a park with socially distanced areas for, blankets and chairs and that kind of thing. That's something we're trying to make happen. Still TBD there. So, I see Cece joining us. Cool. Any other questions? Awesome. Well, thank y'all so much for joining tonight. Glad to see faces. I don't see a lot of people who I don't live with or work with on a regular basis anymore. So it's fun to see some new folks and meet y'all. I hope I get to interact with you more in person or online. Thanks again.